Hello everybody, I will be doing my speech choir presentation on League of Legends, which is one of my favorite video games, and this is what I have basically been spending a lot of my time on since being put under the stay-at-home order in my town. So, for a quick little background on the game, League of Legends is a free computer game that was created by Riot Games in 2009, and this is one of the most popular computer games around the world, and millions of people play it every single day worldwide. And this game is traditionally played on the Summoner's Rift map in a 5v5 game mode. And there are currently 148 different champions that you can play in this game. And I know that that seems like a lot of champions, but the reason for this is because the game has been out for so long and they come out with a new champion every 2 to 3 months. So for a quick little roadmap, I will be talking about a quick overview of the map of Summoner's Rift, and then I will be going more in depth on each different role, which is top, jungle, mid, AD carry, support, and then I will be concluding. So this is the Summoner's Rift map, and there are two different sides here. So there are two different teams, with the blue team being right over here and the red team being right over here. And right here is the top lane, right here is the mid lane, and then down here is the bottom lane. And then this in the middle is the jungle. And so basically what you want to do to win this game is you have to get rid of your enemy team's towers, which are these little things right here in each little lane. So there's two in each lane for each side, and then on the base there are different towers for each lane, and then behind these front towers right here are inhibitors. And when you get rid of an inhibitor, it allows you to start attacking these turrets right here, or towers. And then once you get rid of these towers right here, you can get rid of the enemy team's nexus, and once you get rid of the enemy team's nexus, you win the game. Alright, so for top lane is made up of either bruisers, tanks, fighters, and assassins. And this top lane is not limited to either these different types of champions. You can play a few other champions that may come in or out of the meta based off of the patch notes. Right now we are on patch note season 10, and it's the 7th patch note. And so basically what you want to do as a top laner is you want to try to keep the team alive, because you have the most amount of health traditionally. Because if you're playing a tank or a bruiser, you typically have a lot of health. And so you want to try to initiate team fights by going into the enemy team with one ability that may allow you to either root or deal a lot of damage to the enemy team. And so basically your goal is to try to absorb as much damage as you can in team fights, so that your damage dealers in this game will be able to deal as much damage to the enemy team and hopefully try to kill them all, so that you can either push out lanes or win the game. And also, top laners have teleport, which allows them to teleport onto any different point in the map, and you can teleport to minions, which are these things right here, the towers, which I talked about earlier, or wards, which I will talk about later. So for jungle, you can play as either a bruiser, tank, fighter, or an assassin. And again, this is not limited to all of these roles. You can play certain different champions if they are in good standing in the current patch. And so basically your goal as the top lane is to try to gank lanes. And by ganking lanes, I mean going into a lane and trying to help that laner. So let's say you go gank top lane. You would want to help your top laner try to kill the enemy top laner. And so basically a gank is to like surprise the enemy champion. And so you just want to go in, try to kill them, and try to get more damage on the tower. And also as a jungle, you want to try to get different jungle objectives, and these are the different buffs, such as red buff, which is right here, or dragon and baron, which also give buffs, but these buffs go to the entire team. And so dragon and baron are very important parts of the game, and these buffs make it easier for you to win the game, but don't necessarily make sure that you win the game. And you also want to make sure that you are assisting your teammates. So let's say one of your lanes is falling behind, you want to make sure that you can try to gank that lane as much as possible to try to keep your allied laners from falling too far behind, so that later on in the game they won't have as much of a problem keeping up with the enemy team and the allied team. So moving on to the mid lane. In this lane, you either want to play as a bruiser, fighter, or assassin or a mage. And again, this is not limited to all of these roles, but it is very important for a mid lane champion to deal a lot of damage. And so basically you want to try to build as many items as you can that are around whatever type of damage you deal out the most, whether it be attack damage or magic damage. And you also want to be really smart about your positioning, because if you are in a bad position, you may die, and it won't be good for your team because you are an important role in dealing a lot of damage to enemy champions. And basically to get as much gold as you can, which will let you build more damage, is to kill as many of the enemy champions, or kill as many minions as possible, which these are the minions again. And so basically the more minions that you kill, the more gold that you get, and also the more champions you kill, the more gold that you get. Alrighty, moving on to attack damage carries. So basically this is my role, and so I know the most about this one. It is traditionally played by marksmen, and this role is very specific, and it is mostly only played by marksmen. There are a few times when some other champions that aren't marksmen come into the meta and be AD carries, but for the 95% of the time, you want to play a marksman. And so your objective as a marksman or an ADC is to try to kill as many minions as possible. And I know that every single other champion wants to try to kill as many minions as possible, but for an ADC, it is very important to do so, because your whole role is surrounded by as much gold as you can get, because the more gold that you get equals the more damage that you can deal based on what items you build. And so killing as many minions as possible can give you more of an edge against your opponents, because this will allow you to deal more damage in the long run. And I know that this next point for objectives may seem like a no-brainer, but for an AD carry, trying not to die is an important role. When an ADC dies, it is not good for your team, because an ADC deals as a lot of damage with their auto attacks, and the auto attacks is basically just like your free attacks. And so, like right here, down here, you have your different abilities. And these abilities also technically either deal damage, root, or give you healing or whatever. But for AD carries, their whole role is centered around their auto attacks. And so dealing as much damage as you can in that auto attack can give you a bigger edge on your enemy team. And so staying alive is extremely important for an ADC, and trying to not make as much mistakes as possible is extremely important. You also want to build attack damage as an ADC, because the more attack damage that you do, the more you build attack damage, the more damage that you will do based off of your auto attacks and your abilities. Okay, so moving on for support, and this is typically played with either mages or tanks, but it is not limited to these two, because support is a very unique role where you either want an ability that has a root, stun, or you can heal your allies or give them a shield. And this is extremely important because their role is to try to keep everybody on the team alive, and this is specifically catered towards the ADC, because the support lanes with the ADC, and so during laning phase, the support will be working with the ADC for the majority of the time, and will either be assisting them by healing them, or by giving them a shield, or rooting an enemy champion so that their ADC can get a kill on the enemy team. And the last objective for them is to ward. And this is an objective for every single champion in the game, but it is heavily emphasized in this support role, because what warding is it is a little piece of vision that you put down on the map. And so basically in this game, you have vision over wherever your allied champions are, your allied turrets are, or your minions are. And so you can see all of those areas on your minimap, but you cannot see where your enemy team is. And so it is very important to place wards wherever there is no vision on the map, so that you will have vision of what your enemy team is doing, and you will be able to know where they're going or what they're about to do. And it is extremely important to do this in this game, because warding is key, because the more you know where your enemy team is, the more knowledge you have on what they are going to do next, and so that you will be able to plan for that next step ahead. Alrighty, to conclude, League of Legends is a very complex video game, and the average game lasts about 20 to 45 minutes, so it's a pretty lengthy game compared to most video games where you can play one round in about 10 minutes. And I want to end this off by saying, since we are all in quarantine, this is a very fun game to play, and it is very time consuming, and it's very hard to play and hard to understand, but it is worth the learning curve to play this extremely fun game. And it's free, so there's no excuse for you not to download or play this game right now. Thank you so much for watching my presentation, and I really hope that you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful day, everyone.